Hey everyone, how are you guys doing this evening? I hope everyone is having a good time. So, welcome to The Lost and Found by Streetlight. This is now the name of the podcast. I'm kind of liking it. Lost and Found. It's let's talk a little bit about the name, I think, and I have something I want to talk about today, some updates. Tuning in, really appreciative that you guys are here. I've done a podcast before and I have no idea how this is going to pan out. But I do know a few things that I want to share with you. And I thought it's about time that we spoke together. Not that you're waiting, maybe you are. I'm drinking my yerba mate here. So it's almost 9 o'clock here in Vancouver, Canada. If you're tuning in, I'm Hussein Hallak, and you are on the Lost and Found podcast along with me for the ride. Here's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk a little bit about growth. In fact, I think all of what we're going to talk about is a growth, where we are in the journey, why we're doing this. Well, I'm doing this. Today marks a very, very interesting day, I would say, in the history of the world. I'm doing my first podcast, but I think considering what's happening around the world, considering where we are, I thought it would be interesting to have this conversation. It's night here. I am tired, and I think we have a few things to talk about. First thing that we want to talk about is to talk about latest. I'm just trying to figure out a few things here as we do that. So I thought today we would read a couple of articles that I published. We would talk about a program that is coming up and a few ideas that I want to share with you. So first of all, it's been almost a year by now that I started to write extensively on LinkedIn. And it's been right now, I think I launched my Substack in March. So we can say it's been a little bit over half a year since I launched my Substack. I think I have around almost 300 articles there, 200 and something, closer to 300. I have almost 1,000 subscribers on Substack, and I thought it's about time to relaunch my forgotten YouTube career. The name of the podcast is Lost and Found. I'll start with talking about the name. We'll go through a couple of articles. Maybe we'll see a video together and talk through some of the things. So if you're here, thank you for being here. I'm really, really appreciative. I'm thankful, actually, for the people who've been along for the ride, the people who commented, who liked, who shared their opinions, the people who disagreed. And everyone, a special thanks to my family who were throughout all this journey as well, had to suffer through my thinking and my ideas, and of course the challenges that come with what I've done. So without support, without having the people around you that care about you, that believe in you, you won't get much further than, or further anyway. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that. Welcome to my home. This is my office, which when I do these I would say streams, let's call them live streams. When I do them, it's connected to the home. I don't have my own office. It gives me an incredible view and it keeps me along with my family, but that means that the cats can jump in. I know you're hoping for that, or you can hear some sounds sometimes, or I may just step in to get something from the kitchen. Let's start with talking about the streetlight. Why the streetlight? I wrote an article about that, and I think it represents really many different things. So the whole story of the streetlight, I think you might know it. It's night. There's a streetlight, and there's someone on the ground as if they're looking for something. So that person approaches them and says, "Hey, can I help you look? What are you looking for?" And says, "I'm looking for my car keys." And they start looking for the guy's car keys. Now they look for a few minutes before the other person who just joined in asks, "Hey, by the way, where have you lost them? So maybe, I mean, the person's trying to solve the problem, because if they look where they found them or where he lost them, they're likely to find them. And he told the guy signaled to over there. And the person looked at him surprised. It's like, what do you mean? Like, why we're not looking over there? And the person answered completely normally, without any sense of irony, because the light is over here. And this has many different, I would say, important elements. So the reason I named my writing or my newsletter the Streetlight is because you need the light in order to dispel the darkness, in order to find what you're looking for. So the person chose the light, even though what they're looking for is somewhere different, and they still chose the light. You need the street light in order to find what you're looking for. So the person chose to step into the light instead of going to where the darkness is. Now, of course, there is many different layers that we can understand the story. Like sometimes you have to go into the dark in order to find what you're looking for, and you need the street light in order to dispel the darkness, because it's easier to find what you're looking for. But sometimes the street light is pointing not to where you need to find what you need to find. So I named it the street light because it has the dichotomy of life, the light and the dark, finding what you're looking for and not finding it. And therefore, when I wanted to do the podcast, I named it The Lost and Found, because the Lost and Found is all this hush-push of different things that people forget. They forget anywhere between their cell phone to their keys to their clothes, depending on what, if you have a community center and you have a lost and found, or you have a lost and found in, let's say, an office space or something like that. So that's where it comes from. So here, it also points to a little bit something I've been dealing with and I've been struggling with. And that is the topic of growth that I want to talk about. And maybe I start by talking about it. You see, I at least grew up around a time where you could be one thing but not the other. And I don't mean like it is in a way that is enforced. It's like what Noam Chomsky says, what does he call it? I wanted to bring the reference and now it's completely gone because my manufacturing consent. Thank you. So he talks about manufacturing consent, and one of the things he was talking about the media, but how we agree to certain things doesn't mean that they are explicitly agreed. Because of the way society works and because of who we choose to be around, there might be invisible boundaries that we adhere to, even though we didn't explicitly say that that's the case. A good example of that. All right, so first National Geographic's Brain Games on Social Learning and Conformity. All right, yeah, I think this is it.
See if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it. This woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. If we take the group away.
Elaine, please.
We'll talk about it in a second. It's hilarious.
I think she'll do.
She will stand. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. This is insane. So this is what I was talking about, is that there are things in our lives that we conform to and we follow and we don't question, just because everybody else is following them. He's gonna break the rules. She's gonna try to tell him to stand up. Oh my God. Dude.
Right.
Is he unsuspecting? Oh, okay, so he's not like someone who's a plant. Oh my God. Okay. So she taught him. Oh my God. We are so impressed.
What began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room.
Ooh, oh my God.
Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
Please explain.
Since I decided to go with it, then
Conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, joined the ranks.
Oh my God.
And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think right now.
Isn't that amazing? I think this is so yeah, we basically behave in certain ways because we think we need to behave that way. And that sometimes keeps us safe, keeps us accepted, creates connection. Those people would feel connected. It sounds, of course, it looks ridiculous right now because it's a meaningless act, but we do quite a lot of things all the time that are meaningful and brings us together, makes us closer to each other. We do that all the time. For example, it might not seem like this, but it might seem where you go out with your office pre-COVID. You go out with your office to have lunch together at the same time, for example, or a similar time, or you eat together. These are kind of social norms, social learning that you can certainly break. And it may sound, sometimes you might do things that may sound, I mean, notice how you would act about something that is maybe, how you talk on the phone when there are people around and when you're on your own. How do you answer somebody? Do you answer as if you want other people to listen? Do you change the tonality of voice? Do you want to be heard, for example? I certainly done that quite a few times. So, and we're different. Everybody is different in how they behave and how they kind of conform. So we have these social norms and we have these ways of thinking, these invisible boundaries that keep us acting in a certain way or behaving in a certain way. And I don't forget, I forgot kind of where I was going with the idea. But I think when it comes to the, let's say, how we approach growth and where we want to go, we usually have certain ideas of how we want the behavior to go. And I was saying that we were, back when I was in university, that was 30 years ago, which sounds like forever right now. I mean, pre-COVID is forever. So if we look at that and we see how we wanted to chart our path, we fell into these social norms. You could be one thing or the other. You couldn't be more than one thing. If you did more than one thing, you're considered a genius or someone who's extraordinary. You play violin and you're great at it, and you also, have an engineering degree, and you also are successful at work. Somehow you're a genius. Why? Because most of the time we're trading our time. Most of the time we're trading our time. I mean, in most cases, we were trading our time for, let's say, the career or getting a degree. Pursuing something meant an exhaustive amount of time to pursue it. And some things are still the same. If I want to play guitar and I want to get better at guitar, even though I have some starting points in guitar, it will require me to spend a ton of time playing the guitar. If I want to get better, let's say, at, maybe I want to learn marketing, or I want to learn, a new thing like AI. In the past, it was, months of, well, at least years of study and, spending time and learning, and there's access is a problem. Now I can ask ChatGPT to teach me the most important things about AI in a week, for example, or less even. I can even sound smarter while I'm talking to someone by having ChatGPT listen in and just tell me what what I should say. So the speed within which I can do something has reduced, but also who are we has, I think, changed, because we accept today that you can be multiple things at the same time. We accept that you can be an entrepreneur building your company, you love music as well, you have interest in many different areas, you write, you contribute, and it's no longer seen, I mean, in many areas it's seen as like, oh my god, you can do all of these things. But I think this will become the norm and should in a certain way become the norm, because as human beings we have multiple interests. We're not one dimensional. We are not what the systems that existed have made us to be. In the systems that existed, the industrial age, the capitalism, you needed to be one thing. You needed to be a lawyer, a consultant, an accountant. You needed to be that one thing that the market would value and would put a value on and could position you and could know where to put you in the hierarchy, so that based on that the company can be built as big as possible. That, in my opinion, is kind of changing. I'm not saying it's completely gone. These things take time. There are still companies functioning today based on how they functioned, in the maybe. They used new technologies, but the way they think, the way they operate, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that doesn't mean it's progress or not. I'm just saying it's changing and it's opening up possibilities. That's the other thing I think that we need to learn right now. And it's hard because, again, we ourselves are used to categorizing things. If we were, I remember in the 2000s, when we were networking, we were told not to answer, what do you do? Who are you? Or what do you do? I'm a writer. Hi, Hussein. I'm Hussein. I'm a writer. I'm Hussein. I'm an engineer. I'm John. I'm a lawyer. We define ourselves by the thing we do the most, or the thing we usually make money from, our job or career, or maybe it's who we are and it's our job. But I think right now, you a podcaster or a lawyer, or a lawyer podcaster, or a podcaster lawyer artist, for example? Am I the engineer, the entrepreneur, the podcaster, the writer, the artist, the graphic designer? All of the things that I've done all at once, one of them, depending on the situation. Who am I? And I think, at least there is what I believe, but I think that's also born out of the what's happening in the world today. I think we are changing how we see ourselves. I'm looking at my book right there. I can probably get. So, if you don't know, I've written a book called The Dark Art of Life Mastery. And in that book, one of the things, it's a book that I am learning right now, that I thought I wrote it, but I think it's writing me right now. And it's not just a figure of speech. It's actually by writing those ideas, which is the technology of writing, one of the oldest technologies that we still use till today. My ideas became real, and I parsed them and I worked at them to the point that after I tried to shape them, they shaped me and they continue to shape me. And I think one of the key things that I love this book. I mean, like, it is life changing for me, and I think it will be life changing for anybody who reads it. The people that are ready anyway, or the people that it connects with them. Some people already, made that transformation, but it's a transformation to living a life of choice, a life where you don't just, like water, conform to whatever the environment is, which is fine when you're first starting. But once you become aware of that, and if you don't want it, sometimes some people are very comfortable conforming to the boundaries, invisible or not, that their communities already enforce, and they're like, fine, that's great for them. They as much space as they want. That they don't want growth. Growth is not for everyone, and there are those who want to grow, who want to grow by becoming that person that they want to be the most. I wanted to grow. I wasn't happy being the Hussein that was studying engineering. I wanted to be Hussein the musician. So I started learning guitar, and that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to become Hussein the headliner. So I learned how to sing, and I practiced because I wanted to bring more of that. And it wasn't because I wanted, at the time, there was no such thing as becoming a successful musician for me at all, because you could only do that from a music industry perspective, at least what I thought was success, if you travel to LA, New York, maybe London. And that was impossible for me, being the boy in Syria. But it's not just about that. It's about when you remove that idea that there is a destination that you need to get to in order to be considered a musician. It was more about what I wanted from the music, not what the industry wanted. Because, not that I didn't want to be on the biggest stage in the world, but because that was not possible and it wasn't a goal to strive for, It's like if you couldn't have the championship, let's say you couldn't participate in the World Cup, for example, why would you play? You play because for the love of the game, even if there was no World Cup. So I was in music for the love of the music. It didn't matter if I became a musician, if I became acknowledged and seen as a musician by the industry or by the people around me. What mattered is that I got to be the musician that I wanted. The same thing with writing. I wrote, even though I didn't even, not only it wasn't possible, like maybe that was the only thing. The funny thing is that writing maybe was the only thing that was possible at that time, because you could write, you could become a journalist, writer. Writers were highly and still highly respected in the art world. Poets, my uncle had one of the top uh, publishing companies in the Arab world. He published for the biggest writers, the biggest poets. It completely, even though I loved writing, I loved poetry, and that's what I did all the time, I didn't even think about it or even consider it as a direction or to become a writer at all, even though it was like probably the easiest path. I didn't see myself, I didn't choose myself to be a writer. I wrote, it was an enjoyable exercise, but when I thought of becoming, I wanted to become a musician. I didn't even see myself as an engineer. I became an engineer, but I didn't pursue it, and I got the degree and gave it to my mom as hypothetically, or the figure of speech, basically. I kept the degree. I didn't literally give it to my mom, but I got it and say, here, I'm an engineer. Go be happy. What I wanted to become, I think I didn't know even what I was becoming. I was pursuing business or building, doing something. I wanted to become a creative director, um, or an art director. These are the things I kind of aspired to. But because I couldn't join an ad agency, I ended up building businesses in order to allow me to become a creative director in that business. It's kind of like building a band because you wanted to sing, or building a team because you wanted to, play goalie or something. So I built businesses as a solution, or as an out, as a pathway to becoming a creative director. So it was, so it wasn't, none of the things that I became were a career path or something that I built towards. It was something I chose. I didn't even have a reasoning for other people why I'm choosing that. In fact, everybody disagreed with me. Being an engineer is very highly coveted. Like, it's seen like you're a doctor, an engineer, or nothing. And where I came from, Damascus, Syria, that is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But that meant nothing for me. Engineering was the least. In fact, to a certain extent, I don't even like mention I have a degree in engineering, not because I don't, I loved engineering, by the way, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, many parts of it, but I never like saw myself becoming an engineer. So even though I had all of the things that allow me to become an engineer, I love technology very much, but not being an engineer, if that makes any sense. So I think it's very important to explore that choice of who you choose to become, especially at this time that we're living in right now. We're living in a very, very interesting time, to say the least. All of the barriers between the different worlds that we inhabit are falling apart. Let's explore an area that I talk about and I write about a lot: politics. Now, politics was seen, and it's still in many ways, a lot of people consider it. They say in business, at the workplace, don't talk politics, sex, or religion. And the reason you don't talk about these things is because people have deeply held beliefs in those areas. And it's more than likely that you're going to offend somebody and you're going to clash with them. And that creates, of course, I'm simplifying it. Somebody in HR would come and say it differently, but that would create an environment where, because there's a clash in belief, it's highly unlikely that you're going to collaborate. So it's better that you don't know what somebody believes, and you collaborate with them and you make it work. Why? Because that's what the capitalist system requires. It requires you to come to work, not to be a human being. So it stripped us from all the things. Now, this is not something that I think happened. Now, I may be wrong here, but I don't think there is, like a hard rule. Don't talk religion, sex, or what is it? politics, let's say, at work, but I think there are some things where you're expected to act a certain way, and I think that alone, and because nobody raised it, and it becomes kind of the norm, if you wish. But there's a problem because these are things that are deeply meaningful to us, and let's say and they govern who our personality is, who we love, who we are around with, what kind of world we want to live in, what kind of what drives the actions that we take. So it's part of everything we are. And like somebody saying, leave everything you are outside, leave it at home, and then come just deliver and do the work like a machine, which doesn't happen. So they invented this thing where, you have the values. Here are the values of the company, and you're somehow joining the company for those values, and you're becoming part of the team. And funny enough, when you change from that company to another company, you simply change your values. And I think we are kind of engaged in this game of pretend that is how life works, and it doesn't. That's not how life works. And we are kind of avoiding the obvious. Of course, there are companies that are and people and groups of people and teams that are completely sincere about this, and they do it the right way. But I would say most companies, which I'll research it in a second, I think most companies and most people who work in companies know that it's complete bullshit. I'm here because you're providing me the best salary for the work that I do. And if I have the options, then yes, I will choose the company that is most aligned with, let's say, like how my culture and the things that I like and the values that I believe in and what they work on. But if I don't have those options, who are we kidding? I'm going to choose the place where it gives me the one, because that's what business is all about. Business is devoid of morality. At least that's what they tell us. So you end up working. If you remove morality from it and you remove value, or you remove what all the parts of me of being human, and just we're talking about something that I do, code, build, whatever it is, write, what's the point? So it's not like I'm joining, I'm marrying someone, because then I will have certain evaluation. Here are people I'm working with, and if I don't like it, I'll just walk away. And we live our life like that, and we miss on the most important thing, which is time. This time that I'm spending hours upon hours, most of my life, in fact, with people that the structure has been put together so that we don't care about each other, and tomorrow I might be gone to another company, or maybe fired, or maybe moved to a different section altogether in the company. And all of those relationships are severed or changed forever, because in service of the corporations. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to work with, and if that's a system that works for you. But it doesn't work for humanity, because the people we want to spend the most time with are the people we care about. So the reason why we don't have that much empathy is it's been kind of beaten out of us through this merciless system. You're put in school, you don't choose your friends in school, you learn how to become friends, which is fine. This is considered as something that you do at home, or your family needs to be kind of taken care of, kind of your survival of the fittest kind of thing. Like you're thrown into, without any social skills, without any supervision, into a group of people. The teachers are not going to be figuring out and telling you how to resolve human relationships. They're busy teaching you math, they're busy. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's just that I'm pointing out what's missing. And then throughout the system, you get bullied, or you kind of survive. You get to university, and now you have to choose the pathway that will govern all your future or your prospects for the foreseeable future. And you have to make that choice without any knowledge or wisdom or support at all, depending where you are. Now, you might tell me, oh, there are advisors, you can read online. This is not the same as having a group of friends, that having, a support structure of knowing that if you make a mistake in your choice, you're not going to choose to study, or if the world changes, and you choose to study computer science and suddenly AI comes and takes all your jobs. I don't think it will, but let's say it does, or it depresses the job market, or you graduate in 2008 suddenly because of a mistake of whoever, the whole economy is crashing and you can't find a job. It's not your fault and you don't know what to do and you're left on your own. So we created a system. It's kind of similar everywhere in the world, except where I come from, you at least had, I had an extended family of 300 people. Even if I mean, I can go farm, you have some land, I would say. Not that, again, it's not who's better and who's worse. It's just that you grew up around that. And then it's similar in the sense that what the society is built upon treating you like a resource to extract. So is it any surprise that we treat each other like resources to extract from? What's your, how do you help me? What value do you add to my life? We don't go around, doing what we did and what we're made for, which is socializing and building this relationship that we're building right now. So you go into that system and you're forced to kind of accept the way it is, which is, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer, you're identified by your work. And I think that's dissolving. Dissolving, first of all, because politics is part of life, sex is part of life, religion and what you believe or what you don't believe is part of who you are and part of life. And they were always part of life, but we kind of chose not to see it. Like, oh, I don't care about politics, I care only about sport. I don't care about, I go only, someone is religious. And it's like just these things that we're these groups that we're separated to based on our interest, which is still valid. But I think right now everything is seeping into each other. That's why people are wondering, like, I want to just watch my sport, I want to be on LinkedIn, do I have to read about politics? And we see that all the time. And the problem with this mentality is that this is the mentality of someone who still thinks, and they're entitled for this mentality, who still thinks the world still operates like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where politics didn't interfere with business. But I mean, it did, but we thought it didn't. Well, now these I would say manufactured walls and facade has kind of fell apart, and we see how life is interconnected. What your politics are, what you vote for, will end up changing lives of people around you and will end up impacting your life as well. Not like, in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, it's not like about bills that will unfold over 10 years. It's things that will change within months, which is unheard of. That was the case, but you didn't feel the impact. So whether it's wars, whether it's like policing, whether it's education, health right now is impacted severely. So that's your vote, but also it's what you believe. And because people believe certain ways and they vote based on what they believe, or they want their vote to align with what they believe, and they want other people to believe what they believe, or they don't want them. So depending on where you stand in this mess, that has an impact as well. And your sexuality, your who you choose to love right now, wherever you are in the world, it's restricted in certain ways, or seen in certain ways, or fought in certain ways. And I don't mean to talk in riddles. I'm happy to address things directly, but because as human beings we're more interconnected than ever, we can see and align. If we look at the general public, we can see and align with each other, especially if we have a good, healthy upbringing. And I don't mean just parents, I mean like the feeling that you're not going to lose everything if you fall, the feeling that you're surrounded by other human beings who will rush to pick you up when you fall. Not because you need it, maybe you do, but also because they feel that that's what makes us human, that collective, that taking care of each other is what makes us who we are, that empathy. because I would know, or I would relate to what it feels like to fall, and therefore I would help. And I think we're recognizing that that's who we are, and we're recognizing that the way we built the world, or we accepted the world to be built, does not support that, from the atrocities being created around the world, to war against people, to taking freedoms away, due process, adopting certain beliefs that isolates and excludes certain people for whatever reason. We are recognizing how dangerous these things are and how damaging they are for our humanity, our collective humanity, our personal humanity. It's destroying the systemic foundations that we built, that we could build an incredible civilization. And we're realizing that that's dangerous, and we can't pretend anymore that it doesn't, that things haven't changed. And therefore, when I started writing a year ago, and I started writing politics on LinkedIn, and I didn't kind of choose to, oh, now I'm going to write politics, or I moved to politics. In fact, I love business. And the reason I wanted to speak that is because business people were getting involved in politics in a way that didn't align with humanity's principles, in my opinion. And I had to say something. I had to say something because I mentored many entrepreneurs, and I didn't want, and those entrepreneurs looked up to those people who are business people who are completely messing up our world, the tech pros, if you wish, the Mark Zuckerberg, the Peter Thiel, the Elon Musk, these people that are the worst of humanity. I mean, the worst, the best that I can say, that are, got to benefit from society's support and help, got lucky and built something and got the money, and now they're using it to destroy it for everybody else. And regardless of what you think of them, these are considered for some reason, for a period of time, as the people that people, I mean, I read Peter Thiel's Zero One, and I got to know about Elon Musk from people who said, we look up to Elon Musk. And I got to teach, I used Mark Zuckerberg's quotes in how I taught entrepreneurs. So I know these people. It's not like I'm looking at them from outside. I've seen their journey. I even followed them. I remember using even quotes for Elon Musk, for teaching entrepreneurs about entrepreneurship. So I felt a responsibility as an educator, as a mentor, as someone who helped entrepreneurs, pursue the entrepreneurship path, to see that this is not what you're supposed to be. This is the antithesis of what an entrepreneur is. And I think a mentality of growth is a mentality of becoming someone who's the better person, who's the better human in all aspects that you choose for yourself. And that is what true growth is. That's when you provide the most value, is when you pursue to bring out from inside the most that you can give to the world. And those people are giving nothing to the world. Elon Musk didn't give rockets to the world. Rockets existed before Elon Musk. Electric cars existed before Elon Musk. Elon Musk gave nothing to the world and took everything. He's a billionaire. He's a taker. He took a lot to become a billionaire. It's not that he gave so much to the world that the world rewarded him. He's not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs gave a lot to the world. He changed 7, 8 industries. Elon Musk didn't change those industries, didn't invent anything, didn't drive, has no philosophy. Elon Musk has zero philosophy when it comes to business or productivity. I mean, he says a few things, but he's like the least productive, the least impactful in business. Don't get me started anyway in Elon Musk. And he has zero value to add to the world. In fact, he left the world far worse than he found it. Far, far worse than he found it. And he destroyed instead of building. Peter Thiel, I read his book about Zero One, and it was interesting. And I used to think of him as someone who supports, in fact, a lot of the Thiel Foundation. Some of the founders I mentored went through the Thiel Foundation. Vitalik Buterin, who founded Ethereum, went through the Thiel Foundation. And then I don't know what happens, but these people kind of changed and became those. I try to avoid this moniker or this naming people like that, but there's no other way than calling someone who doesn't care about other human beings and actively works to make the world worse for everyone else than evil. And the same thing with Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was this, young kid, at least that's what I saw him, that, thought he wanted to build, this in a dorm, like one dumb kid wanted to build Facebook. And it was actually a cute story. And then he becomes this person that hides the active harm that Facebook has done to the world. Now, Facebook has done a lot of good to the world. Without Facebook, I wouldn't be connected to most of my Syrian friends, especially after Syria's civil war. So definitely adds value. But then when you do that, it's very harmful. And funny enough, Peter Thiel funded Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk wanted to fight someday. I was like, I don't know what's going on there. But we can't pretend anymore that the world of business, these are some of the biggest funders of the current administration, the Trump administration. They are actively dismantling the guardrails of our society. They are funding surveillance capitalism, and it's horrible. It's impactful on our world. It's never gonna. I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. So we can't pretend anymore that the world today is the same that it was 10 years or 20 years ago. We should start claiming the totality of who we are. We should reject to step into the molds that are molded for us so that we are useful to a capitalist system. Whether you believe in capitalism or not, you need to claim who you are. You are the purpose, nothing more. You are not here to serve the corporations. The corporations are here to serve us. The structures around us are meant to serve humanity, not out of hubris, but there's no other use for them. Something existing for the purpose of existing that we created doesn't make any sense. Then it's an artifact. And that's fine if you want to create it, then call it an artifact, call it art. But it needs to add value to the rest of us in order for it to exist, in order for us to support it, in order for us to participate. And I think what's happening right now, especially with the No Kings protest, is that people are choosing to exercise their power by boycotting, refusing to consent, withdrawing their consent, acting with permission, and it's going to even grow from there. This is not just a political movement that anybody who sees it like that, I think they're missing the whole point. This is a populist movement. This is the people, and we are waking up around the world to the idea that we are no longer things and you can't treat us as such. We are no longer beholden to what you choose us to be or what you choose for us. So what is true growth for you? I think growth depends on the domain that you operate in. There is personal growth where you focus on yourself and everything that gives you pure joy. So you grow in playing the guitar, you grow in sometimes in cooking, or sometimes in something as small as preparing a great cup of tea. So that's personal. It relates to you. It doesn't have to relate to anybody else. That's why you like the books you like. That's why you like the movies you like. And unless you want to do something with somebody else, we live in probably the greatest era of personal choice. Whatever it is that you want to choose, even if you want to choose, let's say, a t-shirt like this, it's my t-shirt, this is commissioned by an artist. I got to commission an artist, a Portuguese artist, my friend Antonio Piedade, who did the artwork for the book. It's here. See? So he did the artwork of the book, and I got to commission him, and I got to print on a t-shirt that looks like I bought it from a store. Can you imagine how hard this was 30 years ago and how expensive this was? It's impossible. It's like one day you'll have your own clothing company. I don't have to have my clothing company. I can have my one piece of clothing. That's how much choice we have today. So in regards to personal growth, the world is kind of engineered around that. But while we're doing that, while we did, all of the devices, everything around us is to serve us. Look, I'm in my own studio. Having a mic like this was impossible 30 years ago. It's not like you couldn't buy it, but you couldn't have, a mixer on the computer, have the lighting, have a phone that can capture at 1000, 1080p. That's impossible 30 years ago. You needed a studio that will cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and you need a team to do this. So we've created this incredible opportunity for personal growth. What have happened less of in the effort to do this, we've forgotten community, the need to connect with others. We created all this, and instead of this being what I'm doing right now, which is I'm connecting and trying to build a community, and hopefully you like this and you come again, and this is the opportunity to build that. We've created, let's say, my phone, instead of capturing my images, it became a place where it sucks me in and keeps me from doing and connecting and engaging with others. My computer became that place where it sucks me in, where I enjoy and I consume content. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Great. But in the past, we consumed less and we engaged more. And this is not that I'm afraid of complaining about this, but this is not the complaint about, oh, people are no. I mean the needs of people. This is not about this is bad or good. I'm just saying that as human beings, we need this consumption and this joy, source of joy, and we need to come back to a sense of community. Because if I enjoy something, if I enjoy a movie and I have no opportunity to discuss it with someone, to have a different opinion, to engage, to fight for my own opinions, I'm drowning in my own silence and my own loneliness. We need to connect with others. And now we have the opportunity to, but the driver behind that is gone, because the outside, so while we have all the opportunity, the society outside and the systems outside are not meant for us to benefit from these opportunities. So the only way you do this is if you can make money doing that, and that's needed, but it shouldn't be the only reason. We should choose to pursue something not because we can profit from it, not because we can succeed and beat the world at it, not because we adhere to certain standards. We choose to become that thing. We choose to become who we want to become because we choose it, because it's our own personal choice of how we show up for ourselves, who we want to show up in the community, the kind of communities we want to build. That is the opportunity. And then to exist in systemic foundations or on top of systemic foundations that enable that to happen. So like socialized healthcare. If we have a social net, safety net, you are more likely to pursue building a community of interest, pursue becoming that person. But if you don't have that, and it's only a capitalist system, and you can only live a life based on how much value you give to the system, not to other people. It's not about value. In fact, if you give value to other people, you actually escape the system. But somehow the people who want us to escape the matrix end up putting us in the matrix, which is you become subservient to money. And money exists in a capitalist system and acts based on a capitalist system. That's why you see the people who succeed have to beat the capitalist system, have to make a lot of money to the point that the system doesn't even influence them. And those are the people who have freedom. So our path to freedom became, we have to make so much money, fuck you money, we call it, so that we can escape the system when we didn't need to follow the system at all. We can choose right now to do this, to connect with others, to use the tools that we have between us. And I don't mean like creating content. I mean like pursuing to become who we really are. And the more we are that person, the more you are, well, you can see it on Instagram sometimes, people who create gifts, handcrafted gifts. And there are communities that love these kind of things. Not because you can make money, and that's why I hate it when somebody turns it into like, oh, you can do this, let me teach you how to build a business, any business that is passive income and can do X, can do Y. Complete bullshit. This is about pursuing and choosing to become that person you've always wanted to become. and then let everything, your actions, your thoughts, your words, flow through that person. Let's finish with an example. The book. All right. So I wrote this book not because I wanted to be an author. I wrote this book because I chose to become the writer of that book. And I don't know if I have another book in me. I don't know if I'm an author, period, that I'm going to write other books. Until the other book demands to come, it will come. So who can you choose to be today if you had all the time, all the money in the world? You didn't have to work, and you don't have the limitations of, you're going to die tomorrow. If you have all the time, money in the world, who would you choose to become? There's no competition. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to explain yourself. This is a completely selfish choice. What would that be? And from that person, what would be your top thoughts, words, actions? How will the world change if you pursue that? What level of growth will you be able to accomplish? Now that you're thinking like that, then you can ask yourself, what if you had the time and money that you have today? Limited, not everything's available to you. What would you do from that perspective? For me, this book was the result of this. It started with writing a few articles 10 years ago. Funny enough, I didn't even see the connection until actually right now when I'm talking about it, because at the time I followed the same thing. I said, if I had all the time in the world, what would I do? All the money in the world. I said, I would become a best-selling author. Not for the title, but I wanted to write a book that will influence and will impact the most people in the world. And I said, but I'm a new immigrant here in Vancouver, Canada, and I have to find a job, and I have to, spend time every day learning how to do my resume the Canadian way, and meeting people and kind of searching for a job. But I had 10, 20 minutes on the ride downtown that I could write. So I started writing. I started writing articles, and now I used to write, but I used to write mostly for fun, and I wrote in other magazines, but I wrote in Arabic. This is writing in English and writing about things I didn't know what to write about. I didn't write about business. I wrote about anything that came to me, and that started the tradition that led here. Fast forward 6 years, I started writing The Dark Art of Life Mastery. I didn't know what to name it, I think, at the time. And I just started writing, and I said, I have something to share. And it's because of COVID, because of the loneliness, but I was already in the writing mode. I was already writing, became that way to communicate. It set the path. And I did several books before that I didn't, like, I would say, failed attempts. So it was that little thing that I started. I asked myself what would an author do? And an author would write, and started writing. And that led to here. Now, there's no promise that if you start and if you choose to become that person, everything will become better. But one thing for sure is that you will be actualizing and pursuing that person that you would enjoy. And if there's a chance to become that person, at least you're taking it. And maybe you want to choose to become many different people. And then what would those people do? And what would happen if you pursue them? What I would say would not happen if you don't is that you won't get even a chance of becoming that person that you want to become. But if you take the chance, whether it's in your business, in your life, in everything, because everything's interconnected, and you choose to become that person, you make that choice, and you let your actions, your words, your thoughts flow through that person that you choose to be, you may stumble on something incredible. I don't know what that is, but neither do you. And wouldn't it be fun to discover and to explore? I hope you enjoyed. This is my first episode, and it's 1 hour, not that big, not that long. And this is, if you want to come and join me, I'm gonna try to do it every week, actually every day, if that's something you like. Please let me know what you like the most. What do you want to talk about? Not because I want to please you, I do, but also because I love the conversation. Also because I love to hear back from you. Also because I'm craving this connection. This is why I'm talking. This is why I'm writing. I was talking to. I'll finish with this. I was talking with my partner Rama, who's awesome, and she's incredible in that she let me kind of talk to her and explore my ideas. And that the first they will sound insane. So bless her heart and bless my children's hearts that they listen at least to me, but it helps me figure out some of the things that I want to say. And I was talking to her and I was exploring what would this mean. And I told her I might create content, but I'm not a content creator. I am someone who wants to connect with people. I choose to connect with people. I choose to be this author, connector, human being that choose to connect with people. The medium is content. The medium is this live sharing, but I'm not a content creator that, is doing content. And a good example that we use is that you can be a great mom, and as part of that, to cook and help and feed your kids. It's very different than to be a cook in a restaurant. None of them is bad or good. It's just that the perspective that you kind of adopt. So choosing who you become and let the actions flow from that. Then, as a mom, her food has a touch. So when it's tasty, it's incredibly tasty. Rather than it requires a different person to cook to somebody you don't have a relationship with. So just because she can cook great as a mom doesn't mean that she can become a great cook. Just because I can create great content as someone who wants to connect doesn't mean I'm a great content creator. The differences may be subtle, but there is a difference. What do you think? And I hope you like the first conversation. Let me know what you think of the background and the setting. If you like the t-shirt and you want to get some merch and want to support my work, I really need your support to continue down that path, this path, the path of contributing to others, helping others. So if you think that what I do helps people, you think it's something you want more of in today's world and I have value to add, show me that. Let me know through engaging, sharing, commenting, supporting my work. You can support my work by joining the Streetlight. You can subscribe for free, or you can join in and subscribe to the higher tiers. It will support my work, support my writing. I do it for myself and to add value to the people in our lives. I think you can tell from my writing that I am a voice that is courageous and don't hold back. And I will do more of these videos as well. And also, I want to run different programs about technology, about entrepreneurship, and I want to help as many people as possible. So support my work. Let me know if you want to do work together, suggest ideas, engage. I would love to build a community where I'm not just a content creator and you're a listener. Please engage, please reach out. And this has been Lost and Found by Streetlight, first episode. And I hope to see you on the next one.